What's going on, YouTube? So the affordable truck space has historically been a pretty vacant segment in the auto industry for many years. But recently things have really been heating up with the addition of things like the Ford Maverick and this Hyundai Santa Cruz. And Hyundai is making this product even better for 2026 with some big changes just 1 year after its big refresh. So after a week, did this Hyundai Santa Cruz prove that it's really all the truck that you need for starting at under $30,000? Let's go ahead and find out.
Let's start things out under the hood with a quick spec dump. Of the two powertrain options available on the Santa Cruz, we have the most powerful one, which is a 2.5-liter turbo 4-cylinder, making 281 horsepower. It's paired to a new 8-speed automatic transmission this year, and with all-wheel drive, your combined fuel economy is 20 mpg.
Now, the base price of the Santa Cruz is $29,000, and if you're looking to buy one or any vehicle, we'd encourage you to check out carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now, we also lived with this truck for the past week, so we have some impressions to share, such as our real-world fuel economy. But first, we need to go ahead and shut up the hood and take a look at the exterior as well as the interior.
Starting with the exterior design, the Santa Cruz does look quite different from any other truck on the road, but it also does look less similar than the Tucson that this model is based upon. That's because Hyundai did refresh this model last year, so up in the front, everything's going to be looking more boxy and squared off for this newest design. And then for the limited trim we have today, it's going to be the most blingy version with a lot of different chrome. You can get darker versions as well. Now, a big part of this exterior design are going to be your headlamps. These are a full LED design on this model. Your daytime running light will be taking up most of this area here, and then you have your turn signal indicator and your main unit located down here below. We found those to work pretty well this week. While we're down here, I do want to mention you can get an XRT model for some increased off-road capability, but your ground clearance will be 8.6 inches for all models. As far as your wheels are concerned, all but this very top limited trim will come with 18-inch alloy wheels. You upgrade to the 20-incher on this one. I think this is a good design that matches the overall aesthetic of this truck. Another thing that matches the aesthetic are these thick wheel arches with the matte black cladding, and then you even have your little Santa Cruz Easter egg that's located all throughout this car. Moving up to your mirrors, you do have standard blind spot monitoring, but heating will come on your SEL trim and above. No power folding though.
Now, moving on to the side of the Santa Cruz, overall vehicle length is around 195.7 inches, which does mean, of course, this is going to be quite a bit smaller than other mid-size trucks that you could get, like a Toyota Tacoma for reference. And as far as the overall design touches, there's a lot of body lines going on through here. We do have the roof rails up here at the top, and as we head around to the rear design, we certainly have that unique Santa Cruz look to it. Now, I will say, over the past week, we've got some mixed emotions when it comes to the design, especially from those that own full-size trucks. They don't really love the overall look of this, but I do love the paint color. This is bluestone. It's a really beautiful color. Now, let's take a look at the individual design touches. We have the taillights going through the center section here. These are going to be partially LED, so I wish they had made these fully LED, but your brake light and turn signal, as well as your reverse light down here in the bottom, will all be incandescent. The Limited gives you this little chrome piece right here, and you also have Santa Cruz stamped into the tailgate. The lower fascia is a little bit boxier for this refresh model, and the tow capacity comes in at 3,500 pounds for the base engine or 5,000 pounds with this turbo. But we need to talk about the bed because we do have a pretty practical one. So first and foremost, the tailgate itself is nicely dampened. You also have this cover that is standard across the board. That's pretty nice. You don't have to option that on. In order to release it, all you do is just push in on that, and it's actually just going to go ahead and slide all the way back. Now, as far as the bed itself, it is going to be smaller than full-size trucks, yes. It's 4 foot 4 inches in overall length. So yes, that's not going to be as big as some of the other options that you could get, but it's still usable for a lot of people, that is for sure. As far as features, as you can see, we have the bed cover there. We also have a nice liner on the sides. We have LED lighting. We also have these little sliders that will allow you to tie things down. And then we're not done yet, because one of my favorite things is the fact that just like the Honda Ridgeline, you can actually lift that up and store things underneath of the ground to keep them from getting wet, or if you want to use this as like a cooler for tailgating, that's certainly a pretty nice touch. You also have a drain down here in the bottom. And in order to get in the bed itself, you do also have side steps as well. But what about safety? You're going to get 3 out of 4 active safety features, standard on the Santa Cruz. Furthermore, if you opt in for the XRT trim level and above, that will give you adaptive cruise control with highway drive assist. And we found those safety systems to work really well, just like in all the other Hyundai products this week. But guys, there's a really nice interior that we need to talk about. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from our long-term vehicle videos to our side-by-side comparisons, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars.
Now let's dive into the interior, but first let's start with your key. It is your standard Hyundai key fob in the shape of their emblem. You do have a smart entry system as standard, and a digital key is also available, and remote start as well. So that means I can reach behind the door handle and all of the doors will unlock. And go ahead and check out this interior. I think you're going to find it's a lot more premium than your average truck for this price point. And part of that experience does start here with these seats. You'll come standard with a cloth seat, and then you move up to an H-Tex leatherette, but the Limited comes with the full leather seat. This is the black color you're looking at today. You can also opt for gray as well. One 2026 change is that the dark green color is no longer being offered though. As far as your controls, SEL and above will have a 8-way power adjusting seat with 2 ways of lumbar support, and the Limited adds in 2-way of memory. So let's go ahead and hop inside. Closing up the door, let's talk about your interior materials. Again, I think this is an area where you're going to be really impressed because this is better than your average truck, especially if you compare it to things like the Maverick. On the door trim, you have a leatherette wrapping with stitching detail. That continues up through the center where you have a little bit of a cloth accent as well as more leatherette. Soft touch plastic goes all across the top of the dashboard with more leatherette detail through here. Some cloth detail once again with kind of a continuous vent detail. I do want to mention that this Limited trim adds in ambient lighting as well, which looks really good and makes a more premium experience for nighttime. But let's go ahead and start it up with the standard push button start. Now that elevated truck experience continues here with your technology, so let's start out with your gauge cluster. All models will have a 12.3-inch digital display, but on the SEL Activity and above, you get the fully reconfigurable one, so you can go through and the design will change for different drive modes as well. A head-up display is not offered on the Santa Cruz. Moving back to the steering wheel, the XRT and above will have a fully leather-wrapped steering wheel, as well as the blind spot camera on the XRT and above as well. Heating is on the Limited only, as well as rain sensing wipers, as well as the fingerprint scanner over here in the far left for identity authentication. Moving over to your storage, again, I think you'll be really impressed. Once we pop open the center console, you'll see our signature donuts inside. For this test, the Santa Cruz will fit 11 donuts, which is just shy of the 12 needed to pass. Storage doesn't end there though, because we have a really large passenger shelf over here, though we do not have a center pass-through like some models of the Tucson can get. That is because you do have a fully physical shifter, so I just pull all the way back to go into drive. I can do some paddle shifting on this trim level, and then in reverse, I'm continued to be impressed with a 360-degree camera. That is standard on the XRT and above, and I can even do things like the 3D spin. Really good if you're trying to tow or do other truck-like things with it. Once I put it into park, you can see just below you have your drive mode indicator, things like your auto hold, a diff lock, and new for the XRT trim level this year, you have a new terrain mode to even more customize your driving experience off-road. Finishing off the storage conversation, you do have cup holders as well as a larger cubby up here with a wireless phone charger on the SEL Activity and above. Now, moving up, you have this really nice panel here with a lot of physical controls. That does include things like a dual zone automatic climate system if you choose the SEL and above. So you have these big knobs here with lots of adjustment, and then you have these more touch capacitive controls as well. That includes heated seats on the SEL and above, and then for the Limited only, you have ventilation. That is something that the Maverick cannot get. You have another row of controls here as well, including your volume knob, standard 6-speaker audio system on all models, but you do upgrade to the Bose audio system here on the Limited. So let's get give that a sample. Overall, I was really impressed with sound quality this week. As Bose systems can sometimes be, it does get a little bass heavy. Now let's keep moving throughout the cabin to talk about the screen. All models will come with a standard 12.3-inch display. As you can see, I'm in wireless Apple CarPlay right now. Wireless Android Auto is also available. And then you'll be greeted by Hyundai's newest system, the CCNC software. So everything works really, really well. Super customizable. Navigation is on the XRT and above. And we really had no issues using any of this tech this week. Wrapping up the cabin, you'll have a auto-dimming mirror on the limited only with Homelink universal remotes. And then the SEL Activity and above will come with a standard moonroof. You cannot get a pano roof for this model.
But of course, we need to hop back here into the rear area and talk about the space and features that you will find. Now, of course, every version of the Santa Cruz does come standard with the full 4-door setup, so that's really a pretty nice feature about this. You don't have to pay extra for it or anything like that. And that means in terms of legroom, what you're going to find is 36.5 inches of legroom, 39.6 inches of headroom. Those are going to be pretty good figures for sure. Compared to something like a Tacoma, honestly, this is really quite large compared to that in terms of comfort as well. Now, when it comes to the knee room figure, I brought along the official Car Confections ruler. That's to get that figure, and we're sitting at 5 inches of knee space. Also, my feet can slide up underneath of the seats, and one of the things that I really like are these seats. They are quite comfortable. They also have a fold-down center armrest with 2 cup holders inside. You have the glass that you can also open up to get some really good airflow. And you have vents right here in the center section. That's going to be standard on SEL trims and above. Also, 2 USB ports. Now, you're not going to have heated seats or anything like that, but overall, it's going to be a pretty nicely finished rear area. And if you look over at your door trim, it's going to be a hard touch here on the upper part. However, we do have a leatherette through the center section as well as on the armrest portion. And there is a bottle cubby right there, but there's not any actual storage. Now, one of the things that you can do to store things is use that little strap there and fold the seat up, and that's going to allow you to have all of this space. And as you can see underneath of this seat, you have quite a lot of storage to, once again, increase that usability. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the 2026 Hyundai Santa Cruz. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a lot, as you can see on the screen right now. But first, we need to start with a hard acceleration. Right. That was a little bit past 60 miles per hour in the 2026 Hyundai Santa Cruz. Now, you could tell by that acceleration that this is actually a decently quick option, that's for sure, for a smaller truck. And that's because, as Josh pointed out at the spec dump, we have the 2.5-liter turbo 4-cylinder engine under the hood. Makes 281 horsepower, 311 pound-feet of torque. So, this is a pretty familiar Hyundai Kia engine. They've used it in a lot of different applications. And here in this Santa Cruz, I have to say, it fits really well. I think they've done a good job with this, and I think the 0 to 60 is sitting right around 6 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, that is no slouch for this upgraded engine. Feels a lot like driving around our Telluride, which has the same engine.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, of course, that is going to be a pretty big upgrade over the standard powertrain option. So on your lower trim levels, you're going to have a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder sitting right around 190 horsepower. The 0 to 60 on that does get increased quite a bit, up to about 8.6 seconds. So this is a pretty substantial upgrade. I would highly recommend getting either the XRT or the Limited just to get this extra power. I think that's going to improve your overall experience. But if you are looking for a more basic truck, they do give you that basic powertrain to kind of lower the price down.
Yeah, those official power figures are 191 horsepower, 181 pound-feet of torque, and the unique thing, if you happen to be cross-shopping this with a Hyundai Tucson, is that this engine is exclusive to the Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
So if you really want that extra oomph, then you can go with this Santa Cruz and get the extra usability of the bed in the back.
So I just punched it from a rolling start to demonstrate the new for 2026. Perhaps one of the biggest things that is new has got to be the 8-speed automatic transmission. So previously it had an 8-speed dual clutch automatic. They have gotten rid of that and went with a traditional automatic. Now, I'm happy with that switch personally. If you know, we've had some issues with the Hyundai dual clutches in the past. So I'm happy to see this more traditional setup. Also, it just makes it a little bit smoother around town. This is not a vehicle that you're going to be doing super athletic driving in all the time. So the extra smoothness is very much appreciated in my book. Although I will say it is a little slower than what I remember the previous dual clutch being when it comes to shifts, but the average owner I don't think is going to really care.
Yeah, not at all. And this is shared with the base powertrain's transmission now. So they're both 8-speed automatics, and this turbo model comes exclusively with all-wheel drive where you can option it onto the base powertrain.
But now we're on our designated strip of road to talk about ride quality. So right off the bat, I just want to mention, if you haven't figured this out up until this point, this is not a traditional body-on-frame truck design. So unlike something like a Tacoma, for instance, this is going to be riding on a completely different architecture. Now, what that means is it typically has a little bit less capability. However, it gives you fantastic ride quality. So this really rides just like a Hyundai Tucson, which is great because that means your ride quality is really good. It does a great job of soaking up bumps. You have no vibrations entering into the cabin. You hit larger bumps in the road. It just really rides nicely. Also, these seats are very soft and supportive, so you could easily take this on longer road trips and arrive completely comfortable.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with the Santa Cruz this weekend, and every time I would get out of the car, and my passengers as well, we'd just get out and go, wow, I am completely refreshed, because this is not that truck that rides uncomfortable. This is going to be a very nice experience.
That was a sport mode acceleration. Not bad at all.
Yeah, I think you'll be completely happy with this transmission, and yeah, it's just a little bit slower, but nothing too crazy. But let's go ahead and put it on fan speed 1. Our vented seats are off for our sound level reading. Well, there you have it. We are sitting at 54.6 decibels. There's another perk of your unibody platform here, and I will go compare it to all of its many rivals at carconfections.com/sound level readings. And unsurprisingly, that continues to keep the Santa Cruz as one of the most quiet small to mid-sized trucks that you can buy. And once again, I think that's just courtesy of having this unibody platform.
And what about fuel economy? So for the standard engine, you're going to have 25 or 24 mpg combined, depending on if you choose front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. If you choose the turbo with all-wheel drive exclusively, that is going to be rated at 20 mpg. I do want to talk about this for a quick second because that is down 2 mpg as compared to the Santa Cruz was last year with the dual-clutch transmission. So it does cost you a little bit in terms of fuel economy to make this transmission switch. So that's another reason why they had the dual clutch previously, but I think it's a worthwhile switch.
Yeah, and after driving it around this week, what are we sitting at for our real world figure? Well, after about 170 miles of mixed city and highway driving, we are sitting at 22.1 mpg. So yes, that is slightly above that overall EPA rating. And I think especially for like highway cruising, we found that this engine is really smooth and really efficient for having good fuel economy. Just keep in mind, you can't get a hybrid like you can on its main competitor, the Ford Maverick, that has a hybrid that offers up to 38 mpg.
That's right, and that actually is going to be today's airball is, well, not just the fact that the hybrid is not offered here on the Santa Cruz, but also just the fact that they kind of waited too long, I feel like, to launch this vehicle. Its sales are not great, and the Maverick is kind of the reason why, because that excellent fuel economy, also the very traditional truck-like design of that is really giving it a lot of sales success compared to this Santa Cruz, and I really wish Hyundai would at least close the gap by offering the hybrid here on the Santa Cruz.
Yeah, but as far as our slam dunk is concerned, it really just has to be the overall well-rounded experience that you get with this product. When it comes to the comfort and the features here on the interior combined with its value, as well as the fact that, again, as long as you're not looking to tow like 10,000 pounds or go off-road all the time, this is really all the truck you really need for the majority of buyers. And that's what we were really impressed with this week. We definitely enjoyed living with this quite a lot. And rumor has it that this Santa Cruz will be going out of production soon before the new body-on-frame Hyundai truck comes into production, so you might want to get one while you can.
But what about pricing? I said at the introduction that this vehicle starts at under $30,000, and indeed it does. You can see the full lineup of prices on the screen right now, but we start at $29,750. Now, of course, we have the fully loaded example. This is the Santa Cruz Limited all-wheel drive. That starts at around $43,450 after we add in the optional paint color, floor mats, and $1,600 destination. We're sitting at $45,790, fully loaded up. If you're curious as to where it's manufactured, it is here in the U.S. It's in Montgomery, Alabama. And if you're curious as to where it's manufactured, it is in Alabama. Now, if you're looking to buy a Hyundai Santa Cruz or any vehicle, we'd encourage you to check out carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you should do that is because we have a tool on our website that'll connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool to use if you plan on doing dealership negotiation. You can find all that once more on our website, carconfections.com, as well as things like a monthly payment calculator. But what about Hyundai's resale reliability and the warranty? First up, let's talk about resale value. Hyundai as a brand is rated at 55.35% of estimated retained value after 5 years and 60,000 miles, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 19.61%. Now that's actually above industry average for all vehicle brands. However, it is still going to be less than other rivals you could be looking at, such as Toyota or Honda.
Now, when it comes to reliability, we can look at the Combined Reliability Index to see where Hyundai falls, and as of our most recent 2026 data, they are above the overall industry average.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resales and reliability data, you can check all of that out on carconfections.com. Now, when it comes to your warranty, you have a 5-year, 60,000-mile basic warranty, a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain, and unfortunately, Hyundai has gotten rid of their complimentary maintenance for 2026. And guys, that wraps up our in-depth 7-day review of the 2026 Hyundai Santa Cruz. If you enjoyed hearing those 2026 changes, as well as our impressions after living with it this week, we'd appreciate you subscribing down below and becoming a part of our Car Confections family. We promise you won't regret it, and if you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.